Keeping Up with the Galacticos is on every night on X. You can see it over there and it is popping off right now. Honestly, what has happened? What has happened to Real Madrid? And look, I'm going to delve into different things in this video. It might be a bit longer than usual because I'm just going to give you my ideas, right? And kind of relate it back to Man United as well. So, as a United fan, obviously. But first of all, I want to say, in history, since the year 2000, Florentino Perez, every time he has become the president of Real Madrid, has said that he kind of wants to go for the best of the best. He's tried to build Galacticos teams, okay? So there's effectively been three kind of periods of this, I would say. So there was that early 2000 Galacticos, and then there was the one in like the early, like 2009, 2010 Galacticos, and then you had the Galacticos of now. And I think people are comparing and contrasting different ones. Now, I think first, what I want to say is I believe all this stuff is coming out because of who is part of the Galacticos teams. So in the early 2000s, yes, you had some massive players come in, like you had Zinedine Zidane, Luis Figo, Ronaldo, the fat one, well, the Brazilian one, let's say, because he's one of the best players I've ever seen play, even though I never really saw him in his prime, but still one of the best. David Beckham, Roberto Carlos, you had some incredible players. However, what underpinned them was that you had people who knew Madrid, who came through from a young age at Madrid and knew the club. And they were held in the highest regard by the Galacticos. So in that early 2000s one, it was like Raul, Fernando Hierro. They were like the mainstays of that team. And when people came into Real Madrid, like the big names, or even though they had their own egos, they knew that like Raul was like the king of Madrid. Do you know what I mean? Like, so there was that respect. And what that meant was it would set a tone in the dressing room. People would respect Raul and Fernando Hierro and be like, these are the guys, like, you know. And you even had Iker Casillas, who at that point was really young. But you had a core there, a Spanish Madrid core that kind of really helped set the tone amongst the Galacticos. And look, that Galacticos era, people say they didn't win anything, blah, blah, blah. I mean, they won a few trophies. They won one Champions League when Zidane scored that amazing goal against Bayer Leverkusen. But like, they were expected to win more, right? But they still won trophies. Now, if we fast forward to 2009, 2010, when you saw the likes of Kaká come in, Cristiano Ronaldo and whatnot, when these players came in, Real Madrid still had that sort of core, like Spanish core and even like Madrid core. Like at this point, you had Iker Casillas, you had Sergio Ramos, and you had some other players dotted about as well who really sort of were well respected within football, but not just football, specifically Madrid. And again, that set that standard at the club and people followed that. And look, that team went on to be so fucking successful in the end. Now, this era of Galacticos, what's happened here is you have had a couple of people who have been respected, not specifically with the Madrid core, but people who have been long enough there, they know what it takes to play for Real Madrid. Like, I'm talking the Toni Kroos, Luka Modric and whatnot. Like, these players, they were there when this started being built. The issue is they've left quite quickly in this kind of Galacticos rebuild again. And what that's done is there isn't really any real senior figures with any authority. So you've got Dani Carvajal, okay? And you've got Thibaut Courtois. Now, Thibaut Courtois comes across to me as an amazing player, great temperament, a really nice guy, but I don't think he's going to really set the tone, if that makes sense, with like, he's not going to grab someone by the shirt and someone, you know what I mean? He's not that kind of guy. Dani Carvajal will, but again, he's not seen as like an elite fullback, so he doesn't have that gravitas. And the fact that they've signed someone to replace him in Trent, I think fucks it up more. These guys need a daddy. Let's be real. They need a daddy. Right now, they're missing a daddy. They need a fucking daddy. Daddy. They need a daddy. And that's what's happening now. They are running around like spoiled brats. And even Dani Carvajal is one of those spoiled brats. Now, let's get on to what the hell's been happening. We've had reports in the last few weeks, actually. So Rudiger had a bust up with Alvaro Carreras, the guy who's playing at Man United. Why did you go there, bro? You want to get bust up by Rudiger. Anyway, they had a fight. Rudiger apologized, like, yo, bro, let's go out for lunch. But you know what? That happened a few weeks ago. Apparently it happened again like last week or this week. Like they've had another bust up. All right, cool. What the hell is happening there? On top of that, you've had the Vinny contract situation. He's been wanting a lot more money than Real Madrid really want to give to him. And that has kind of soured relationships here and there. Although Real Madrid is saying like, oh no, it's fine, blah, blah, blah. But there's been that sort of, Vinny feels as though I think Mbappe's coming in. He's not the golden child anymore. You've had Mbappe coming in and Real Madrid fans have not taken to him that well. The weird thing is I remember they didn't take to Luka Modric or Cristiano Ronaldo at the start, but they played through it and look at what they became. So it happens. You've had Dani Ceballos, who's been mouthing off massively as well, undermining the manager. I mean, he's going, so I think he's just like, fuck it, I got nothing to lose. You got Dani Carvajal, who is literally throwing his toys out the pram. Apparently he's been injured, but that's the word out from the club. But then it's come out that he's actually not injured and he just doesn't want to play because, he sees Trent is getting more game time than him. Actually dumb from this guy, man. This guy's like Madrid through and through, and what is he doing? And the latest news is Fede Valverde and Tchouaméni have been beefing in training, which started a couple of days ago, where Tchouaméni put in a hard tackle onto Valverde. Valverde got annoyed. And then the day after, Valverde did the same to Tchouaméni. And then Tchouaméni got annoyed. And apparently there was a bust up. And apparently Tchouaméni bust him in the head that he had to go to hospital. And yeah, he's getting some scans. Although Valverde came out on social media being like, actually, this didn't happen. Yeah, we did have an argument, but I fell and hit my head on the table. Brother, who are you lying to, man? I feel like this was just basically forced by Real Madrid for him to put out, because like Fede Valverde, I've always thought he's quite sensible and whatnot. So for him to go through this is kind of mad. But yeah, I feel like the club would just force Fede Valverde to put this out, this statement to be like, look, we don't want any beef, blah, blah, blah. Honestly, it's just going to tits up. And like, Xabi Alonso, when he came in, he wanted to, set a routine, set some discipline into this team. And he's come in with a bunch of bloody rugrats that are just running about, spoiled brats on these massive wages, playing for the biggest club in the world. And they think that they can do what the fuck they want. And it's just not happened. You've got Kylian Mbappe taking holidays when he's meant to be injured. And look, he can do what he wants, to be honest with you, but it's just the perception of it. And I think, look, Neymar's one of my favourite players ever. Neymar had a bit of this. Like, Neymar was injured a lot because he used to get battered. But then he'd be seen doing some stuff and people would be like, oh my God, why is he doing that? You can be smarter in that situation. But it is what it is. And I just feel as though, like, look, Real Madrid have now suspended Tchouaméni and Fede Valverde without any pay to the end of the season, which, if it was just a small argument and you hit your head on a table, I don't think that would be the case. So I think you're bullshitting Fede Valverde. I think you're bullshitting. And I think Perez has put you up to this to put out on social media. But look, you know what? I listen to different podcasts, and one of the ones I listen to is like the Skulls and Butt one, with Paddy McGuinness, and they mentioned they used to fight all the time when they were winning titles and trebles and stuff like that. So look, this does happen. It just doesn't come out in the, it just doesn't come out to the media and whatnot. And Fede Valverde said in his post that was obviously orchestrated. Oh, it's due to fatigue and where we're in the table. I think temper's just got the better of us. Blah 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 blah. Bullshit. This happens. Obviously, winning can cover that, right? They're doing crap, so I think this is coming out like that. But look, there's an obvious mole in the camp, right? Someone is obviously leaking all this shit. And I'm trying to figure out who it could be. I think Dani Carvajal, it could be him, just because he's trying to throw his toys out the pram because he's not getting any game time. It could be Dani Ceballos because he don't give a fuck and he undermines the manager and he's leaving anyway at the end of the contract. Or, I don't know, maybe Vinny's doing it because he's not the golden boy anymore because Mbappe's come in. I don't know. Like this whole thing about Mbappe getting a dodgy scan on his knee where he went for a scan on his knee and they did the wrong one or something like what is happening with Real Madrid? And this is where I said I want to kind of draw parallels to Man United, because this happened to us a couple of years ago. We were having so many leaks. People were like, oh, it's Dean Henderson, or it's Garnacho's brother, blah, 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 blah. And what happened to us was we are doing what I mentioned at the start is what Real Madrid are going through now. We had Bruno Fernandes maybe and Maguire, but at that point in time, I don't think they were as well respected in the team. for people to be like, who the hell is he to say that to me? And that's how these leaks started happening. And that's why, we had a toxic environment. We had a toxic dressing room. One thing I will credit Amorim with, he's the shittest manager we've had post Fergie, evidently. But one thing he did well was get rid of people who were disrupting the club. And I think, actually, I know people will say Garnacho. I actually think Marcus Rashford was probably one of the biggest ones, to be perfectly honest with you. I'm not saying he's a bad egg or something, but I can imagine him telling someone something and then his mates or something saying something. I think that's how it worked, personally. I think Dean Henderson was probably a bad egg as well. But yeah, it's just drawing parallels to Man United. And I think Real Madrid need to refresh, because they're getting heavily linked with, for me, my favourite manager of all time, which is Jose Mourinho, next year to come in. I think that will happen. I think Jose is going to go to Madrid. And as much as I love Jose, he loves drama, okay? But he's not going to stand for this shit. And this is going to blow up next season. Like, you've already got all these personalities, all this shit happening already. It's a fucking reality show. Adding Jose in today, wow. This is going to go, yeah. Just tune in for that, man. Tune in for that next year. But it's just weird how everything is just coming out. So they need to identify who's actually leaking this shit and then just get rid of them. That's the way it works. Now, does this work in Man United's favour for Tchouaméni? Yes, because they might be like, we need to keep either Tchouaméni or Valverde. We can't keep them both. And we might be like, hey, we'll take Tchouaméni off your hands. But then it kind of, I'm just like, do we want a player who disrupts stuff? I don't know. Maybe this wasn't his fault. We don't know all the sides of the story, right? So, but if we can get him a, 50 mil, I'll take that. I'm not gonna lie to you. But I don't know. I think there needs to be a lot of change this summer. And what I will say, that I'm going to do a different video on this, is what really and truly what's happened at Madrid, especially since this new sort of Galacticos thing with Mbappe coming in. Mbappe's fucked up the team. And look, individually he's done great, but like, that can happen. When Ronaldo came back to Man United a couple of years ago, individually he had a really good season, but he fucked up the rest of the team. Literally happening now with Mbappe, because when the year before Mbappe joined, when they won the Champions League, they had Jude Bellingham playing at the tip of a diamond with Rodrigo on the right and Vinny on the left, and Jude was almost like a false nine. And it worked so well, even though Rodrigo is naturally left-sided player and Vinny's a left-sided player. Rodrigo was happy to just hold the width on the right and play there. Like a lot of players, it takes a lot for you to dim down that sort of ego and do that. Now, what's happened is you signed Mbappe, who literally loves playing on the left. Now you've got Vinny want to play off the left, Mbappe, who, yeah, is meant to be playing centrally, but always comes off the left. And Rodrigo's not even got game time. I don't know why. I fucking rate Rodrigo. I'd have him in a heartbeat at Man United. So, like, it's so imbalanced. And the imbalances cause what's happening now. That's why they're not been winning. They need to find a balance. It's kind of in the initial Galacticos era with the Zidanes, the Figos and whatnot. The reason why they didn't win as many as they could have won is because of the imbalance. And when they sold Makelele to Chelsea, the imbalance went out of the fucking window, because he was the glue. And even Zidane said this. He was the main cog in that Real Madrid system, because everyone wanted to fucking go forward in that team. You literally had Figo sometimes playing in centre mid as like an 8, right? Figo's not a fucking 8. He's an attacking player. You had Zidane sometimes playing in the middle. He's an attacking player. You had Beckham had to play inside because, certain players want to play in the wing or whatever it was. Like, it was such a weirdly built team. They literally just bought the best players, but didn't think about the system. When they did it in 2009, 2010, they built a system. Right now, they've not got a system that they're going towards, and it's really impacted them. That's why they can't win anything this year. But it's like, yeah, a trophyless season for Madrid it sees people go, man. A lot of heads are gonna go, and yeah, there's gonna be a lot of upheaval, I think, this year. But look, I don't know, man. This is so weird, and it's just weird how the two biggest clubs in the world, Man United and Real Madrid, in the last few years have had these fucking leaks. What? People just like clicks in it. That's what it is. Anyway, I'm coming back with daily videos on this channel, so please remember to like, share, comment, subscribe, all of that good stuff. Might do an NBA video tomorrow. I don't know, because now the second rounds are happening. But yeah, let me know what you want to see in the comments below. Till tomorrow. Peace.